In the heart of the Canadian prairies, there are three distinct locations that are well known for hauntings. The Canadian prairies are Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. Dirt roads that seem to lead nowhere, harsh winters that howl across the prairies, a vast landscape that stretches for miles and makes you feel very alone. It's not hard to see why people talk of ghost stories and spooky encounters that have occurred. Freak accidents, suicides, torture, and unfortunate incidents in the past have led spirits to linger in many places of historical sites. The Castle in the Rockies, otherwise known as the Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel, has been around for over 125 years. This well-known hotel has many stories of being haunted, true or partly true or just plain fiction. I leave it up to you to decide. A secret room. During the construction of the original wooden hotel, the contractor made a big error. A room was built with no windows or doors. Not even the hotel owner knew about it. The original building was built between 1887 and 1888. Starting in 1911, a whole new structure was built in stages to replace the wooden structure. A fire broke out and demolished the last part of the wooden structure in 1926, and that is when the secret room was discovered. Legend has it that there is also a particular room in the Banff Springs Hotel that has been considered to be haunted for many years. This room is 873. You will not be able to find the room. This room was reportedly the scene of a tragic murder of a family of 3. The room was still being used for a while after the tragedy, but when guests fell asleep in the room and then they'd be awakened by screams, and when the lights were turned on, they would be startled to find a bloody handprint on the mirror inside the room. By the time the staff would arrive to investigate, the prints would have disappeared. As a result of this unexplained phenomenon, it was later decided that the room would be sealed off. The door was removed and the opening covered with drywall to match the rest of the hallway. However, many visitors still claim they see the spirits of the family roaming the area of the room, and this is for real. I've heard this from many people. There are rooms ending in 7-3 on every one of the floors except the 8th floor. On the 8th floor, there's lights above each doorway, but in the middle of the hall, there is a lone light that has no doorway, and this is exactly where the missing room's door should be. Room 873 was actually combined to enlarge 875, which is a beautiful room with a great view. In 1932, a young woman was looking forward to making a new life with her husband. On her wedding day, tragedy struck. She lost her life on the staircase at the Banff Springs Hotel. There was candles on the staircase. When she was walking down the stairs, one of the candles caught her dress and started it on fire. In a panic, she turned and lost her balance. She fell down the stairs and broke her neck. It was a terrible, tragic end to a love story and a life that was cut all too short. For years, stories have circulated about a ghostly apparition in a wedding dress that moves quietly up and down the staircase. Some claim to have seen the dancing bride in the ballroom. It is believed that the dancing bride is seeking to relive that fateful day. Death denied her and her beloved their first dance together as husband and wife. Others have witnessed the woman on the staircase where she lost her life. Staff have reported strange noises coming from the bridal suite, even when the suite is empty. Workers have also reported mysterious music and saw the eerie image in the Rob Roy dining room of a bride dancing by herself. She is reported to have saved at least one person's life. A man lost his balance on the staircase, and he said he felt an arm grab him around the waist and rebalance him. To commemorate her memory, in June of 2014, the Royal Canadian Mint issued a special series of coins called Haunted Canada. The Ghost Bride is in this series. It features a portrait of a bride with her eyes closed. Her headdress softly cascades over her shoulders. It's very creative and has a unique haunting effect. When you tilt the coin, her eyes open, while the candles that line the staircase also light up the background that was once dark. On the front of her bodice is the familiar setting of the majestic Banff Springs Hotel. Also, at this same time, Canada Post issued a stamp called Ghost Bride of the Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel. Perhaps the most famous and popular of all ghosts at the Banff Springs Hotel is Sam Macaulay. He was a bellman at the hotel in the 60s and 70s. Sam died in 1975. He loved the hotel. Another employee remembers Sam retiring several times, but he always returned back to work. Before his death in 1975, he promised to haunt the hotel from beyond. Shortly after Sam's death, people have seen somebody wearing an old-fashioned uniform and matching Sam's description, mysteriously appearing to help two women who got locked out of their room. Another guest reported seeing a bellman matching Sam's description walk right through a wall. He has been known to appear in his 1960s uniform, turning on room lights or helping carrying with bags. He is often witnessed on the 9th floor. It is believed that he still haunts the luxurious hotel, particularly on the upper floors. Several people have identified him as a real person, but when spoken to, he disappears right before their eyes. Saskatchewan is home to a surprising number of ghost stories, legends, and mysterious occurrences. One of the most enduring mysteries is the St. Louis ghost train. Sometime in the 1980s, the tracks were removed. Many people thought that would put an end to the ghost flight, but they were very wrong. It still appears. A mysterious light that appears almost nightly near St. Louis, Saskatchewan, has frightened and puzzled people for decades. People venture out to this old railroad crossing north of town typically report what appears to be a light from a train approaching from the south. But there are some people who say the light has also appeared behind them, or it passes down the trail where the tracks used to be. Also, some people have seen the light during the day, and my sister is one of those people. Mom and my sister Rita were picking wild raspberries beside the old train track many years ago, before the tracks were even pulled up, when all of a sudden the light came out of nowhere. It appeared to move along the track and get really bright. Then all of a sudden, it just disappeared. My nephews have taken me out there many times when I was young, and I too seen the light several times. Sometimes you had to wait for a while before it appeared, and then other times it was almost instantaneous. Several stories attempt to explain the lights, including that it's a ghost train or the ghost of a brakeman who lost his head to a passing train and now is wandering up and down the tracks with a lantern trying to find his head. 2 grade 12 students won a gold medal at a science fair for investigating and duplicating the phenomenon, which they say is caused by diffraction of distant vehicles' lights. However, the light was reported long before the invention of cars. And also, how do you explain seeing the light during the daytime? In 2014, Canada Post issued a stamp depicting the St. Louis ghost train. The heat has been pretty brutal this year. High temperatures in the mid-30s and higher. So where do you go to cool off? Well, if you live in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, you might take in the water park. It's a beautiful place to relax, have a barbecue, and enjoy the fun. But I wouldn't venture out there at night. You ask why? In the early 1920s, a jail was located near the park's current grounds. It was fully equipped with a gallows, where 18 of the prisoners were sentenced to be hanged. It is believed some of those men were buried what is now the park grounds. If you were hanged and your body was not claimed by family member or a community member, you would be buried on the jail grounds. If you want shivers up your spine, take a walk some evening around the park. Sit and listen in silence. You might be in for a creepy experience. You just may be able to hear the voices and the groans from their dismembered bodies. The Fort Garry Hotel has been host to many guests over the years. One of these guests is reported to haunt room 202. In the 1920s, a young bride committed suicide in room 202 after hearing of the death of her husband, who had been killed in a horse and carriage accident. Life can be so cruel at times. Instead of a new beginning for the newlyweds, it ended in tragedy. The new wife was so overcome with grief, she took her own life by hanging herself. When entering the room, staff have reported seeing blood dripping down the walls. Guests have witnessed a woman dressed in a cloak hovering at the foot of their bed. And actually in 2004, a former Ontario Liberal MP claimed she was awakened by a sensation of someone getting into bed with her. Not once, but twice. This lady is often said to haunt the hotel lounge. She has been witnessed by staff and guests alike. Often she is seen crying in the corner. The ghost of the young woman, dressed in a robe, is sometimes seen walking down the hallway, and this has been reported by many people. Another legend has it that a regular hotel guest always demands a specific room because he gets visited by a spirit lady dressed in a white ball gown. There is proof that a Lady Macmillan was dressed in a white lace brocaded gown, and she stayed in that room on December 10th for the grand opening in 1913. In 1989, an employee was cleaning the kitchen, and opening the door of the dining room, he witnessed what looked like a figure of a man seated at the table, waiting to be served. There is also a report that claims that an overnight security guard recently found 10 candles on the floor in the shape of a star in the locked ballroom on a night when there was no event scheduled. Could this be a sign of occult activity? I have many more stories about my hometown, Winnipeg, and others. The ghostly happenings, eerie events that I have personally experienced. Stay tuned for upcoming videos.